Welcome to On the Chain. This is Jeff here with co-host Chip. What is going on, everybody? What's going on, Chip? I'll tell you what's going on. It is 8:35. That's what's going on, and we got a lot of stuff that we want to talk about. A lot of things to cover here. Trump, JD Vance, Biden out probably by Sunday. Ripple XRP updates. A global IT outage that almost took down the entire world. It even affected Starbucks. So you know it's serious when you can't put your pre-order into Starbucks and go pick it up. Then the world's coming to an end. But forget about all the planes that were grounded and all that other great stuff that was happening. But there's a lot of things we want to dig into. We might even have an update on, you know who? John Deaton. That's who. What's going on with his senatorial campaign against Elizabeth Warren? We need to talk about that. Man, there are some amazing things that we have to get into, Chip. So if you're ready to kick this thing off.
I'm almost ready, but I'm just like everything else today. I'm almost there, but yeah, I'm going to be there right now. Let's go.
Welcome to On the Chain.
It's just one of those days. It reminds me of that tune, Jeff. Just one of those days.
One of those days.
Just one of those days.
That's good. I'm going to be able to log into the YouTube.
There's always something going on with tech issues. So thank you for being patient. Thanks for everybody jumping in here today. Come on, pop in. Where are you guys from? It's finally good to be live here, and we got a lot to cover. Of course, we had the RNC this past week, Jeff. We had that. But something that you had mentioned, I wanted to talk about one of my favorite personalities on X, and that's none other than James Woods. He was always one of my favorite actors, even as a very young human. I was always into James Woods. I always thought he was just a phenomenal actor, and so he's a heavy conservative, and his IQ is like off the charts. Like he's just he's been tested on his IQ. It's massively high. I don't remember what it was, but it's insane. The guy is brilliant. And of course, he said here, he was talking about the whole CrowdStrike problem, how it crashed the world's computers. However, James Woods makes a very important point. He says, I've only used Apple products since 1984. When I read the cyber infrastructure of the entire world crashed because of a Windows-related update, I do not rejoice, nor am I surprised. And I do celebrate a wise decision I made 40 years ago. I'm right there with you, James, right? Apple is superior in every freaking way. And the people that run their infrastructure on Apple, it's funny, I had a lot of calls. I am in the tech sector, and some calls of mine got canceled. Why, you ask? Because, well, their shit went down. That's why. And some of the calls that I did have, it was interesting. They said, we're a Mac infrastructure here. And I'm like, yeah, so are we. So it was delightful calls like there. But yeah, you could see some of the things that happened. And this one here, Jeff, look at this. Microsoft has been nagging Southwest Airlines to update its version of Windows since 1992, and as a result, the Dallas-based airline was not impacted by the global CrowdStrike outage.
What do you know? What do you know about that?
Windows 3.1 saves Southwest Airlines.
I can't believe it.
Now, what's really sad about this, though, is one of my best closest friends, his father. He was told his father has maybe a day and a half to live. And so as he's flying out, he gets stranded in Chicago. But luckily, he was able to grab a flight. But it's just like the horrible timing of it. Wasn't not a good thing. So it's just
their planes were grounded everywhere. Thousands of planes. This could have been the Y2K moment that everybody had been waiting for that never came.
Yeah, 24 years late. But
24 years late.
24 years later, it got there. Well, this is like a precursor to what's going to happen around the election. All of a sudden, they're conditioning us that this happens, Jeff. It's just a software update. That's all it is. Software update. And it's funny because one of the
shuts the whole world down.
Yeah, there's a very famous whistleblower who used to work at Google as a coder, and he went through it. He found it right away. He broke it down and said, "This is like so inept." He went to the code. He found it. He was like, "This is just it's mind-boggling how that could even have happened." So it's
but you could think, we could think deep into it and say, hey, was it North Korea, was it China, was it Russia, was it in some internal job, or was it just the ineptness of some of these software providers and the updates that they do that typically break something else when they roll out software updates. And you're like, well, that didn't work so well, but I guess they need a bug fix to that.
Well, it was
Are they,
CrowdStrike. So
you know,
CrowdStrike writes cybersecurity.
mm-hmm,
Funny enough, cybersecurity, and their software update broke it. And the first half, Australia was the first one to start posting stuff. I was watching videos from newsrooms where they were recorded on an iPhone, probably, and they were posting them up to the internet, and it's bad sound quality. And like, why are we doing this? Because everything's down. They have the big blue screen of death everywhere. Look, this just came across my feed, Jeff. Look at this. Look at some clever people doing the old General D painting on a
Tesla.
like, what is going on with these people? I'm sure that well, the good news is it can take any kind of injuries, can take bullets and everything. I'm sure that's something you don't want to be driving around in these days with the cancel culture, the way it is. Right?
Mr. H, what is going on all the way from the UK? Finally caught us live. Everyone give a quick shout out where you're tuning in from, because Mark's tuning in from Buenos Aires. And
yeah, of course.
Mark is over there in Australia, which is pretty nice.
My cousin,
Australia's pretty cool.
That probably made her feel really good. That's funny. Wondering why the Pelosi's shorted CrowdStrike on Thursday. Yeah, it was funny that they shorted another stock, and be careful here, but they shorted another stock right before the assassination attempt. True stock. It's, and the funny thing about it is, and we'll get into it too, because David Schwartz had some stuff to say about that. And imagine what that looked like. So, I mean, you can just only sort of wonder what that was like. That's something in the background there.
Hear all the people?
Yeah, I hear some of the people. It's not as loud as you would think, though.
Also, this make out what they're saying.
Post here from Sean
McGuire. Stand over there and talk.
Sean McGuire, by the way, guys, will be a guest here tomorrow night on The Chains. But Sean's been putting up some phenomenal posts up on there and X. But he said President Trump survived the assassination attempt by cocking his head at the last second. The videos are there for all to see. And yet many Democrats are calling it staged while others are downplaying the event. If an assassination attempt is politicized, what else is?
That's right.
It's a very good question, Sean. That's a very good question.
It's a very, very solid question, considering everything, considering the state of affairs, considering where we're at this moment. And that was a lot of the many of the media, their first gut instinct, it was to come out and question it and try to bury it, and even try to bury the braveness. I mean, look at even Zuckerberg has come out, and it's really bizarre.
That's
his statement. You think you saw what he said? That was the most badass thing he's ever seen in his entire life. That was truly sincere. That comment
was not. And I'll tell you why.
I'm going to go with it is
going down. You want to know why? Because he's the one that funded all the ballot boxes.
$500 million.
Okay,
this time around, he's not going to do it.
Well, he's not going to do it because he knows that the beatdown is coming. When the new sheriff comes to town, the old sheriff gets back in. This is like, you start saying things like, "That was a badass move. I'm on the side. I invested."
Yeah, but he didn't say it just like that, though. I mean, he came out. I'm not saying he's having to change a heart, but that moment. But that's a life-changing moment for a lot of people in terms of what they witnessed.
Not for Zuck.
And I would disagree with the way he made his statement. But I'm thinking leading up to it, I'm not saying he's a trustworthy person. But I'm saying that was a life-changing moment for him to even come out and say something like that, because he doesn't have to say that. He can just keep his mouth shut. He didn't have to say anything about it. He has nothing to gain from it. He actually has everything to lose from his side, because you have too many people on his side that are going to, stick to their guns, from the political and business side.
No, I mean, everybody knows it's insincere. Everybody knows it's just him pandering.
I disagree, but I don't think he has anything to gain to pander, because he's already going down. His company, everything.
Well,
he doesn't care. What does he care though?
Well, that's why he's not participating, and he's trying to put on a good face. That's why
he definitely can't. Well, he definitely can't participate this time around. So that would blow up in his face for sure.
Yeah, but you can't, but the numbers were close. It didn't work last time. But let's go ahead. I went ahead and downloaded this while you were telling us.
I've done some stuff personally in the past. I'm not planning on doing that this time.
This is an admission of guilt, right here. Okay, this is like, I've done some things in the past. I'm not planning on doing that. Wink,
Well,
wink. Okay.
yeah, but I think
And
he
I'm
also
now
got.
going to talk about how Trump was a badass, dude.
Well,
This
he
is
also got.
this
He also got
phoned in,
sucked
bro.
in.
This isn't even
thinking-
a good acting right here. This is poor acting.
Well,
I've
You'll
done
see.
some stuff personally in the past. I'm not planning on doing that this time. And that includes, not endorsing either of the candidates.
Yeah.
because it blew up in his face.
Okay,
last time.
Zuck.
He made a mistake. He got
It didn't blow up
sucked in with the rest of
He
it.
did illegal shit, and nobody he didn't get tagged for it.
Now, look, there's obviously a lot of crazy stuff going on in the world. The historic events over the weekend. And, on a personal note, it's, seeing Donald Trump get up after getting shot in the face and pump his fist in the air with the American flag is one of the most badass things I've ever seen in my life. But look, it's, and I think, look, it's, at some level as an American, it's like hard to not get kind of emotional about that spirit and that fight. And I think that's why a lot of people like the guy.
That's why a lot of people like the guy. It's like at the end when he lost his train of thought, and that's why I guess a lot of people like the guy.
Well,
that's where it
no,
seems so
I
insincere
think
to me.
think what you're witnessing is a change of thought process. We've seen many of these
No,
people go through that. I
no,
disagree.
no.
I've seen it. I've witnessed it too many times, and I'm telling you right now, he's going through a change of mindset right now because the people that he thought were his allies, and he thought he was one of, because he's a billionaire, he's realizing that even though he did all their dirty work with his money, those people actually don't support him. That it's all the power
That's true,
moves.
but I
They
don't
just
think
use
he's
them.
there yet.
Bill Ackerman. I know, but this is the stages. This is like I'm not going to say he's going to fully embrace, but this is one of those first steps in this direction.
Yeah,
as it changes, Bill Ackerman made the change, and look how long it's taken him. He's not fully on board yet, but he's moving. He's almost there. He's supporting Trump. Not saying he's
There
going to
you go.
support Trump yet.
Thanks for the number,
Takes
Mark.
time.
So Mark's coming in heavy with the support. Zuckerberg gave 419 million to Dems in 2020 to enable the theft. Never trust the guy. Right on. Mark and I are in the same category here. I'm not buying it. It's insincere. And what's telling in that is when he goes, you can see why the people like the guy, right? Winkety
No.
winkety winks. No, man. That's
No,
not the same. Ackman
He's making a
having
change.
Oh, sure. Who's next? Mark Cuban?
Yep.
No. Mark Cuban is another resistor. Listen,
One by
because of
one,
all these
but he's
billionaires-
resisting. But Mark Cuban hasn't had the awakening moment yet. He
And he
hasn't come
won't.
out with an awakening moment. He might
That
not
guy won't.
because he's still being
And
used.
also, so Jeff, this might be the show where we disagree about everything because I also disagree with your opening statement. Biden's not getting out of this race. He's not
Biden's
resigning.
done.
The race.
They're gonna keep pushing him out.
Well, here's the thing. First of all, he's not going without a big payday. So they better pony up some big cash. A book deal that is going to be the biggest book deal in the history of the world, $200 million. That's how they launder the money.
Mhm.
He's not getting out of the race. And this is what the official campaign is saying, but they keep. So it's funny when the mainstream, the legacy media starts floating these stories about how he's really come to the conclusion that it's time to pass the torch to Kamala Ding Dong, right? It's time to get out, and he's not going to endorse her, but he's going to do. And then the campaign comes out and says it's all bullcrap. That none of that stuff is true. He's not getting out. And what they're going to have to do,
they're fighting amongst themselves.
now they're going to release the tapes, right? That they've been hiding and they can't get from the Justice DOJ because they won't get it. So then, Obama makes the call, release the tapes. Then they release the tapes. Then all of a sudden you realize he's a bumbling fool and he's embarrassed even further and he still doesn't go. There's no reason for him to leave. And I keep putting out positive tweets. I'm like, you can do it, Joe. You got this. You're going to win, Joe. You can do it. And I've been reposting the left's tweets like, we're 100% in. Now you got David Letterman coming up with that big weird beard he has. And he's doing
he's another one.
But do you see, Jeff, he's doing a big fundraiser for Biden. And I think it's this weekend. And where? Hawaii. So let's break that down. That massive tragedy where the whole city burned to the ground.
Mm-hmm.
That's $700. And meanwhile, we're supporting the pension
Right.
funds of government workers, hundreds of millions of dollars over to Ukraine to protect their borders, not to protect ours. But we're sending this kind of money. And then you can see how little we think of our own people who went through a crisis. Here's $700 check. And oh, by the way, you can't return to your land. It's all sectioned off. And they've been trying to buy that beachfront property from the locals for years, and they found a way to do it. And now they're going to try to sell it off. They're going to try to take people's land, and they're going to try to rebuild it sell it off to investors. And that's wrong. And nobody's standing up. But I know somebody that's probably going to stand up pretty soon. Do we agree on that or no?
Who's going to stand up?
Mr. Donald J. Trump. When he comes back, I'm pretty sure that things are going to change quite rapidly.
Things are going to change drastically. But right now, I think we're witnessing fragmentation. We're witnessing a complete fragmentation of the Democrat Party, and so between that, they have to get the mental patient out. They can't, even though he's already on the ballot. Right now we're going to see something we've never seen before, because they also can't support Kamala Harris. None of them support her. So if they remove him, it puts her in the spotlight. So right now, they're orchestrating everything in order to find a solution to take both of them out of the way, because it's going to have to go to some sort of a contested event where, do they hold a primary? Is it going to happen at the DNC? What exactly is going to happen? But right now, all the conversation is them subverting this quote unquote democracy they keep promoting, which is, the will of the people. Right now, they're going to take the will of the people away, because the people supposedly, wanted to put Biden in there above all their other potential candidates. But now you can't just remove him and put Kamala Harris in as the #1 spot. But she can take over right now. But there's too many questions that are open-ended, and this stuff is going to keep steamrolling on them. And that's why Schiff, Schumer, all of them, all the big wigs are pushing Biden to step aside and get out of the way. Obviously he's going to keep fighting, because that's also super really problematic for him and his family if they decide that he has to step aside. So I think there's a lot of tension going on right now, but that's where people like a Mark Zuckerberg, all the bad things he's done will never be forgiven, but he's having a slight wake up moment. Whether it continues or not, who knows? But
here's the wake up moment right here.
I've been used.
Here's the way. Well, of course, but here's the wake up moment. The candidate we voted for must drop out to save democracy. So you have the left going on about democracy. What about democracy? Trump is a threat to democracy. But let's sandbag the candidate who not only was the best choice, Jeff, out of like 16 or 17 people, he was the only choice. And you know who this other person was? Was Kamala Ding Dong. Like, she was the most impressive. Meanwhile, she was the first one out. She didn't even make Iowa, right? She was out before Iowa. So she was like the first, and nobody drops before Iowa. Iowa is usually the one that gets 3 or 4 of them out because they can't raise any more money and they're out. She dropped before that, but she was the best one. And so where they are right now, and I want to get to Jim D's thing in here. This is like the next thing I want to talk about. But where they are now is they're on the verge of committing DEI suicide, because if they bypass Kamala Harris, and they say that, oh, but she was the most impressive one. She was second in command to be able to assume the presidency. But now,
but they don't trust her.
But now
they don't trust her to be presidency, right?
Well, that's because I don't think she's as controllable as Biden. Biden was a patsy, but you could just, he wasn't in control. You had, if you think about Obama, who was Obama's insurance policy? It was Joe Biden. Who's Joe Biden's insurance policy? Kamala Harris, right?
Kamala Harris, right.
So, Jeff, if they bypass that, if they try to promote her, and he says even if he steps down, he's not going to he's not going to leave the presidency, right? So he's not going to allow her to become president,
which is another question. So then you say, okay, if you feel that you can't run and you're not mentally competent for that, who's running the office now? Who's actually acting as president? Because we know it's not him. So who's behind the scenes? And that means his capacity over the next 4 months is severely diminished, and you can't have that either. He's the one that gets the phone call at 11 p.m. if there's a strike somewhere in the world, or there's an ICBM heading to the shores of the U.S. somewhere, and he's the one getting the phone call and making the decisions. It doesn't. It's very doubtful that he's the one that's doing that. The guy gets supposedly had COVID, and then they're saying that's why he can't. And they're like, no, it was just a light COVID. So notice also when he gets into Air Force One in that one image, he doesn't go through the front door anymore. He
No,
goes, he
he
went
hasn't
through
for a
the
long
back
time.
door. Yeah, he's going up the
because it's
short
the
steps.
stuff. It's like taking the short bus, Jeff. You remember the
Yeah.
short bus? Like growing up, the short bus was a different bus. Different kids got on that short bus, and that's
Right.
Jeff. Yeah. Jeff. That's Biden getting on the getting on the short bus. Jim D says to get insight into the beatdown, come and listen to the closing music of the RNC. And this is something that I wanted to put up real quick here. Let me first of all cue up the. Hang on a second. Today is just one of those days where, man, I'm telling you, it's just everything is going wrong here. It drives me crazy here. Oh boy. Holy cow. I don't know. This is when you think there it is. Okay. I had to make sure so that I can't play the copyright version, but we'll play this version. You know what I mean, Jeff? Because we'll always play something copyright, and all of a sudden we're demonetized, and then
Lots
and
of
then
videos have been demonetized.
Yeah, but then now what they're doing is they're doing shared revenue where the copyright holder gets a piece of it, but I don't know how that works either.
Now there's a way to silence the music.
Here's what Jim D's talking about. The last song of the RNC as they were going out was Nessun Dorma, and that is the here's the ending of the song translated. And of course, this is also in the Q drops, and it's also the Sum of All Fears. And if you know that movie, I don't want to give away the ending, but it has a significant sort of tie-in because that played at the end when the traders kind of like got off, right? So you got vanish, oh night, set stars, at dawn, I will win, I will win, I will win. There's more to the song, but I wanted to actually play the tune here, and this is the version from the RNC.
Demonetized.
And there you are, Jim D.
That was powerful.
That was powerful. You are spot on about that. I wish I could play the ending of Sum of All Fears, but again, it will be taken down for that one.
I love how all the balloons came down with the red, white, and blue balloons, and just
they didn't do that
image of that.
You remember when Hillary did that?
Oh yeah.
Remember that? I was like, please don't have one of those moments. Please, we don't want to see that. Minus Wells in the house. Minus Wells says Trump cards to the moon. That's right. That is right. Steve Walker, Biden's out in the next few days because he's the COVID sickness. He's not going out, man. He's not going out. He can do this. He can win it single-handedly. I have faith in the old man. He can do it. He's not going out. And if they have to remove him via the 25th Amendment, it's going to get very messy. No matter what happens,
it's going to be
they're in trouble. And if they wait, if they wait too long, if they get to the DNC, Democratic National Convention, and then the delegates pick somebody, no matter what happens, they're going to piss off a significant group of people that are going to stop.
Well, it's beautiful. That's awesome. I mean, they're pissing people off left and right as it is. There's so many people that have come out recently just waking up, and they're like, this, what's going on right now? They're coming out saying we're voting for Trump. They saw the reality of it. You saw how he responded. When he gets shot, he stood up and, in front of the whole world, regardless. He didn't know if the shooters were done. He didn't know if there was another shooter. And there he is standing in front of the crowd, chanting fight. That's the American exceptionalism right there. And that's what's expected. But that's where it puts the humanity back into it. The other guys, there's no way, there's no way any of them would do anything like that. You know, it just doesn't exist. You don't have that kind of humanity on the left. It's just not there. You know, it's amazing to see, you know, how they're eating their own. You know, they're kind of like those animals that eat their own young.
Finally, Jeff.
You know, or like
Finally.
the black widow spider or whatever it is. Doesn't the black widow spider eat their own?
Black Widow
babies?
eats the female
Or
eats
is
the
it-
male, I think, after
It's the
mate or
male.
something
That's
like
what it
that.
is. Right.
Yeah, well, this is the weird thing, because one of the things I've always respected about the Democrats is they've always stuck together, but this is tearing the party apart. But they listen, they gaslit us for 3.5 years, saying that not only was Biden the smartest, not only was he he was strategic, he was everything behind the scenes, and he was sharp as a tack. Remember all those videos of sharp as a tack? It's so funny that everybody had the same sort of, the verbiage. He's sharp as a tack,
That's right.
until he spent a little too much time on TV against a worldwide audience. But this kind of sums it up right here. This is
It
Van Jones.
wasn't so sharp.
He wasn't so, Van Jones, Jeff. He's not necessarily a Trump guy, right?
Right.
What's
Well, that's what I'm saying.
remarkable
Here's another one.
What's remarkable is, like, here's Van Jones on CNN, and he kind of says it all right here.
A bullet couldn't stop Trump. A virus just stopped Biden. You got the nominees of this party getting their butts kissed. Biden's getting his butt kicked by his own party. The Democrats are coming apart. The Republicans are coming together.
Thank you, Van Jones. We're going to put that on we'll be running that commercial 24/7 during the election. I really appreciate your support here. I mean, what do you think about that, Jeff? How do you break that thing down? The CNN is saying this.
Oh, that's another wake up. You know, you can't stay away from it. We saw how they acted right after the supposed, you know, the debate, which wasn't a debate. You know, they were trying to do everything they could to validate Biden's presidency and the fact that he was running, and that was a disaster, obviously. So we saw how they imploded directly after that, because they can't hide it anymore. And same thing with this one. You can't hide the exuberance, the excitement, the passion, the words that were spoken at the conference were, you know, just were really, you know, amazing. Again, it kind of embodies the American exceptionalism and the passion, and every one of those speeches were from the heart, you know. And then they brought up you know, the different families, and so you had people coming up, American people, not the politicians, you know.
Right.
But they brought people up that have had direct impact, that have suffered, you know, whether, you know, it's families that lost soldiers in Afghanistan, or, you know, the couple whose son is still being held hostage by terrorists, and has been held hostage for almost 10 months with another 120 plus people, and you know, there's Americans being held hostage by Hamas terrorists, and so he brought, you know, those people. So everybody came up, you know, with passion. Trump gets up on stage, and you know, and has the fire uniform set up, you know, for Corey, and you know, and talked about that, and everything was just heartfelt. You don't see that at all, not at all. I mean, you don't even have an ounce of humanity or passion. You'll see it when we watch the DNC. There's not going to be that kind of passion. There's definitely not going to be American exceptionalism, because their cry is to force people and to subjugate other people's will to their own will, and to force all their mental instability and all their crazy ideas. They want to force it on us. So you can't take that kind of a mindset where they want to force you into a certain belief system and say there's any humanity, dignity, or passion there, because there's going to be zero. But so when you see American exceptionalism, and you see the passion, you see the sincerity of it, you know, it impacts everybody. And that's where, you know, Mark Zuckerberg, for even if just a flash of a second, he witnessed it, he felt it. It's an emotional time for him, because it's going to be an emotional time for anybody who's seen this and witnessed it. And you're seeing people come together. across the spectrum. Look at, what we
True.
saw with Hulk Hogan, and then,
Amber
we
Rose.
saw, and Dana White and Kid Rock, and and look at the night that Trump was shot. 50 Cent comes out and he's doing his concert, and there's he takes his album cover and puts Trump's head up on that, and sings just specific towards that kind of passion. And we're talking about the embracing of people are seeing what's within, and people realize that Trump is out there doing everything he can to fight for the people. And when you stand up and he's got, at this point, you're shot. You've got years and years and years of the deep state coming after him and trying to tear down him and his family, and the horrible things that they say to all of them. It's amazing. It truly is amazing that they're still standing, they're still fighting, and that's it. That's everything. That we're not seeing the same thing going on over in Europe, as an example, as we're seeing the collapse of England take place in before our very eyes, and the potential collapse of over in France, as we're seeing Islamists run unchecked across European shores, and we don't see the passion of patriotism and exceptionalism and the desire to be, it just doesn't exist over there, and people don't necessarily understand it, but people in this country understand it, right? And they're waking up to it across the spectrum. Doesn't matter what
Yeah, I
side
got
they're
some
on.
evidence of that too.
Yeah.
Got some videos to show that too, but I wanted to so Amber Rose gave a very heartfelt speech. I don't care. People have said, well, does that belong? And Amber Rose isn't really. Amber Rose has 3.7 million followers. Okay. She has people that are, so, and what was amazing about her, she talked about her father. She talked about how she came to, doing some of her own research and then talking about it. And she got hammered, Jeff. I mean, they came down on her, those wackadoodles over on the zoo. But then, like, you see some of the stuff. This is one of her posts right there. The iconic photo, Trump 2024. There it is right there. Yeah, I'm true. I was speaking at the Republican National Convention. Yeah, she spoke, and I thought she did an amazing job. And this is what people don't realize is that this is the big tent, man, and everybody is welcome. And that's the thing. One of the videos that I wanted to play, and what's really encouraging, Jeff, is like, it's great if somebody our age is like, I'm coming around to it. But when I start seeing people that are younger, when I start seeing people that have influence and people that are waking up and doing their own research, those are the people that I want to, sort of zoom in on, because those people they're kind of coming to it themselves, right? They're not coming to it by some, like, here's this woman. Here, I want to play this right here. Here's this girl here. Check this out. She's got a 20-something.
Really? Can you name any past? I don't like Trump. Really? Can you name any past or future policies you didn't like? I just don't like the way he talks. He's racist, and he's a rapist, and he's a convict. You know what? You're right. You know what the worst thing he did for Americans was? The bottom 50% of American households saw a 40% increase in their net worth. Our economy was thriving. I could actually afford groceries, giving us tax cuts for the middle class, giving them extra money per child, helping the Black community more than any other president actually has, being so intimidating that he actually provided us with foreign peace. The first president in 60 years to not start a war. Yeah, fuck the guy that allowed more than 6 million Americans wage increases, bonuses, and extra benefits due to his tax cuts for the middle class. Yeah, fuck the president that wants to actually replace our income tax with tariffs from exports. Fuck the guy that wants to stop taxing waitresses on their tips. The guy who wants to end veteran homelessness. The guy who's calling for the death penalty for human traffickers. The guy who wants to protect our people. Educate before you hate. Check out Agenda 47 before you decide you hate Trump.
There you go. Like,
That's solid. That's an awakening. That's a complete awakening. Because they're seeing the reality of it.
They're living
speaking
it,
the
Jeff.
truth of it.
You can say that, hey, everything's great. She's like, I couldn't buy. Now hopefully I can buy groceries. Here's another 20-something coming to the realization.
So I was a Democrat until 2020, and I want to invite anybody who still is on that side of the fence to sincerely consider whether being a Democrat is serving you well. On an individual level, just think of the mindset difference between Democrats and Republicans. Think of a Democrat rally. It is a bunch of speeches of people complaining, of people telling you you should be jealous of people who are more successful than you, of people demanding more government handouts, of people hating this country, of hating our history, of people wanting to divide you along lines of race, class, and sexuality. And now think of a Republican rally. A bunch of people, thousands, chanting USA, USA in unison because they love this country. They love the opportunity that exists here. Instead of wanting a government handout, they want that opportunity. They want the government to get out of the way so they can make a way for themselves. They don't want to divide people along lines of race, class, sexuality. They want everybody to unite as Americans. Just think of the difference in mindset there, and just
So, I mean, he's making a great point. It's so great to hear from, the youth future of our great country, because this is it. I mean, and their perspective is right on, right? They're going to see it through their own lens and their own eyes, but they're seeing like, hey, there's all this negativity, complaining, whatever. And who do we see this most from? Elizabeth Warren. She gets out there 5 times a day and complains about 5 different things and does 0. She complains about Roe v. Wade being overturned. They had 50 years to codify it. 20 of those years, they owned the House and the Senate. If they were so interested in it, why didn't they codify it? Why didn't they make it the law of the land? They didn't, because they're feckless human beings. All they do is bitch, complain. They bring no new ideas, no new agenda. All they can promote is Agenda 2024, which is not Trump's thing, but they want you to believe that it is. And most of it is like, yeah, who cares? It's not like it's like the death of America. It's just insane the way these people, they have 0 ideas, Jeff.
Yeah, the Democrats, they do really well at breaking things because of what they do. They break it, and then it's broken, and then they come in. They're like, "Oh, look how it's broken! Look how horrible it is!" But they're the causation of it. They know they're a causation because, like you said, they never have any good solutions. The only way they can pretend that they're actually doing something is when they create the problem, then they create the solutions to try to fix the problem, and then that goes on for decades. To your point with the Roe versus Wade, they know deep down that it's a state's issue. They've always known it was a state's issue. And the fact that it was finally pushed back to the state by the Supreme Court, where it should have been to begin with, because the Supreme Court doesn't make law. And that's basically was trying to write federal law, and it can't do that. So it has to send it back to the states where it belongs. And there's a lot of, other issues that need to go back. And we have to stop seeing these Democrats also stepping all over the Constitution. And the other part of it is, they constantly are, like you said, they're always complaining. They're always, looking, supposedly supporting the underdog. But all it is, they're rebranding socialism. They're rebranding communism. And they want people to be reliant on them. Look at what they've done to communities at large over the years, because at the down deep, the Democrat Party is built on racist principle, right? And so they've subjugated the Black community for years and years and years, and have taken advantage of the Black community. And it's horrible, the things that they've done within. And so even within the the Black community, they're waking up to the GOP, and they're waking up to the Republican Party to realize, like, here's what Trump has done. The Jewish community, I believe, is waking up to how the Democrat Party has used and abused them for so long. And we're seeing it now also within the Latin American community, within the U.S. It's just the awakening. The Asian communities in the U.S.
For a while.
It has been, but and it's coming to an even greater fruition. But that's because at the end of the day, the Democrat Party is just based on division, and they want to keep people divided. They don't like the unity of the people. The only time they want the unity of the people is when they dictate down to the peons, just like any other communist dictatorship. They love it, which is why they've wanted to change our electoral system, which is why they talk about democracy and not a constitutional republic, because they don't want, and which is also why they removed, they control the education system. Unfortunately, the Republican Party has allowed them to dictate and control the education system, but they removed education over government and constitution. And because they don't want people to understand it, they don't want kids to grow up understanding what actually belongs to them, what the American rights truly are. And so that's where, when you don't understand, now all of a sudden they want to create all sorts of other new laws, even like the whole thing with the border. Well, you know what? It's a responsibility of the federal government to protect our southern borders and not to allow illegals to invade our country. You don't need another law to stop it. You just need to stop it. Whatever it takes, you stop it. It's very, very absurd. But again, they created this, this problem. They've allowed it. They've exasperated it. People were always coming in illegally. People would fly here and stay illegally. That's been going on a long time. You had families coming over from the Middle East for years, pregnant women coming over here, having their children born in this country, specifically so they could get U.S. citizenship. That's been going on for years. But this invasion at our southern border that was justified and supported by the Democrat Party because they wanted the influx, they wanted the chaos. They thrive on chaos. When you have chaos, you can do whatever you want. When you have disorganization, you can do whatever you want. When you have organization and calm, everything is revealed, and things are being revealed right now, and people are waking up across the board. It's amazing, Chip. We keep talking about the number of registered voters in 2021 and in 2020 was 168 million. 168 million. They had 158 million people voted.
Sure.
This time around, there's 161 million people registered to vote. Where did the other 7 million people go? Why did we lose 7 million people? And how do we get so close to 100% voter turnout when it's never happened before in history? In history, ever. We get 60%, 64%, maybe 6. I don't even know if we've ever got to 70%. But all of a sudden we're near like 96% of the vote. We had 158 million people turning out to vote. Now 7 million people that were registered 4 years ago are gone. Did 7 million people die? What's going on?
Well,
where's the corruption of our numbers?
Yeah, there's also way more people on the voter rolls. But in Wisconsin, in 3 counties, they had over 100%. This is the part, like I'm not a math guy, right? I'm not that like technically accurate when it comes to the math. But if you have over 100 and 115% people voted in a county, something is wrong about that, Jeff. I mean, like something is just very wrong. Like 120% people voting in a county, but no, it's on the up and up. Everything was perfect. I mean, it was interesting. They took it. Minus Wells, an OG in the space. Great show, Jeff and Chip. You guys are mega awesome. Is that mega or mega awesome? There you go. Listening to you from Tokyo. Yeah. Tokyo. Yeah. And if you guys do know, I mean, he's married to also the Moon Chaser, who's another prolific voice in the space. These two together are a powerhouse couple, man. They're OGs and they're always correcting. And I like Minus because I learn about a lot of new projects through Minus as well. So I always like that. But thank you, man, appreciate those kind words. I wanted to show this. If you want to show the difference between what a leader does, this is Trump. And it kind of reminds you something that Reagan did as he was coming in office. But let's listen to this.
We want our hostages back, and they better be back before I assume office, or you will be paying a very big price.
There it is right there. He said to Hamas, that was a direct threat. You better release our hostages, and it better before I assume office, or you're going to pay a very big price. Now, this is akin to that other conversation we heard where he was meeting with the Taliban about conditions-based withdrawal from Afghanistan, and he had said to the translator with one of the leaders there, said to him, hey, tell him if you drop one drop of American blood, I will kill you. And the translator was like, what? And he goes, yeah, tell him that. And he told him that. And then Trump did the mic drop where he hands him a picture of an aerial shot of the guy's house and walks out of the room. I mean, that's how it's done. It's called peace through strength. It was something that Reagan really pioneered. This whole idea of peace through strength is you have the strength, but you don't use it. You don't need to use it because you got the force behind you. And that's the whole sort of idea behind it. And that's the way Trump played it. And the funny thing was, When Obama was there, oh, we had all kinds of terrorism and this and that, and money and pallets of money going over to Iran. All this stuff was happening. You got Biden sending pallets of money to Iran. Then all of a sudden we have October 7th. They have no money, and all of a sudden, boom, they fund that whole thing, that whole massacre. And Trump comes in office within 3 to 6 months. He told the military officers, do what you need to do, knock it out. They did. It was over. We never heard about it. We never heard about the Taliban. We never heard from Hamas. We never heard from anything, right? So when you have a weak leader, like an feckless leader like you have in Biden, who, sadly enough, it's not really even him. So it's not, I don't even know if it's fair to say that Biden isn't, because he's not all there. He hasn't been for a long time. And you had some other people calling the shots. But look what happened. We had Russia, with Ukraine. And now we're talking this whole thing with NATO and Ukraine. It's insanity, but none of this stuff. And I don't care what world leaders think. And they didn't respect us. Oh, they respected us, because when Trump, you see the difference at the G20, right? Biden wanders off into the distance looking at a shiny object, and Trump forces himself to the front of the line, and he jumps right in front. That's a leader. I don't care if you don't like his mean tweets. I don't care if you think Orange Man bad. That's the kind of guy you want. It gets the call at 3 a.m. and makes a decisive, decision. Where am I wrong there, Jeff?
Oh, 100% spot on. Great.
I want to play this one, Jeff.
A bullet couldn't stop Trump. A virus just stopped Biden.
Now, he's about to cry here, Jeff. This is just too good not to play twice. This is the better version.
You've got the nominees of this party getting their butts kissed. Biden's getting his butt kicked by his own party. The Democrats are coming apart. The Republicans are coming together.
That's the better version. Oh, my goodness. It is too good not to show those two things. And then if you remember this one, let's see. So Tulsi Gabbard, what's amazing about her is just give up on that party altogether. She became an independent. She got ousted by her own party because she was saying the wrong things. And so they basically got her out. But here she is talking about Kamala Harris.
Shortly after President Trump announced that J.D. Vance is going to be his running mate in this election, Kamala Harris issued this scathing warning to the American people, saying, make no mistake, J.D. Vance will be loyal only to Trump, not to our country. The audacity that she has to say this is off the charts.
Yep.
She's talking about J.D. Vance, someone who enlisted in the Marine Corps after the terrorist attack on 9/11, someone who deployed to Iraq in 2005, the same year that I was there during the height of that war, putting his own life on the line in service to our country. Was Kamala Harris willing to put her own life on the line in service to our country at any time in the past? Is she now? No. Kamala Harris is driven by her own political ambition. She's a self-serving politician who should not be in office.
There you go. You're from the mouth of an ex-Democrat. And so here's somebody who served too. She served, where was she? I don't know where she was staying. I think she was in Kuwait from 2008 to 2009, Army military police, platoon leader. While a member of Congress, she served as vice chair of the Democratic National Committee for the DNC from 2013 to 2016, resigned to endorse Bernie Sanders' campaign. And look at the transformation since then, from Bernie Sanders over to supporting Trump. And also she's also been speaking out for some candidates running for office. I'd like to see her kind of endorse John Deaton as well. So
but look at it, it is such a difference, So here's Kamala Harris, who doesn't have the same passion for this country as you can see it. She's extremely self-serving, everything she's done throughout her entire career, but she also doesn't seem to have the full intelligence to comprehend exactly what it takes. She's just another useful tool in their toolbox, but for her to come out and make these statements, it shows you it's the rhetoric, right? They talked about unity and bringing people together and to stop with the dangerous rhetoric, but this is more dangerous rhetoric from their side. It's an outright lie, so there's no truth in it. But here's also J.D. Vance, who in 2018 wasn't a big supporter of Trump, right? And so Now you fast forward, all these years, and he's definitely, a supporter of Trump, but he's a supporter because he supports this country. He believes in this country, and he's proud to be a vice presidential candidate with Trump to support this country. And one of the things that he was saying was that it was the whole experience was big, and Trump had said to him, he said, "Get used to it. It's it's going to be a wild ride," because he's not talking about get used to it for the next 4 years. He's saying get used to the next 4 years because you're changing your entire life. Because get used to it and get ready for the next 12 years, because JD Vance will be vice president for 4 and then president for 8.
No.
Because it has to move in that direction. You'll see. It has to happen that way. We're not going to have another primary season where we're going to start looking for somebody else.
We will, because Byron Donalds
you have
is the
to
better
pick the right guy.
choice.
He is, but he's still young. They're both young guys. But that's where you take a vice president. You're better off taking somebody that's already in office and running them, as long as they prove themselves. He obviously has to prove himself. That's why I said you got to get ready for it, because you got to do 4 plus you have to do 8. We don't want to be back in a situation where you're taking, even though we've got some amazing candidates out there, and I agree with you, Byron Donalds was at the top of my list, but now you put a JD Vance in there, and that's what Trump is talking about. It's this 4. We'll see. He has to prove himself.
Well, he's not
over the next 4 years.
He's Pence 2.0. He's remarkably better than Pence in the sense of what he stands for.
I disagree with Pence 2.0.
I don't trust never Trumpers, man. I just don't trust them.
That's the problem. That's the issue.
There was no reason.
Why did Trump even choose him? It's a big issue.
Well, no, there's a lot of reasons why he might choose him, but again, I don't think he was the best choice, and I think there will be a primary. There'll be a primary season. He's not going to be the ordained guy.
No, we're always going to have a primary. We can't not have a primary, but he has a better chance, being that he's already in. As you come from as a vice presidential candidate, you're going to be in a better position.
Did Pence have a better chance to be that guy?
No, because he wasn't good. He was horrible.
More on to begin with. When he rolled over on that Christian,
but he stayed anti-Trump also through the whole thing. He was never a backer of Trump.
Well,
Pence came out, when he had an opportunity to do the right thing, he didn't.
I'm not voting for JD Vance. I'm voting for Trump. And Trump makes
exactly.
Trump surrounds himself with rhinos. Unfortunately, he's got bad advisors. He talks way too much about the rhinos here. I wanted to put this on here because this came up. This is Warren, who will play a clip from John Deaton coming up.
Surprised there was no discussion of gun control of any kind. This should be the moment for it.
So this should be the moment
for it.
This
is their insanity.
This is how stupid these people are. They're stupid people, just like most of the people that from the UK that are constantly telling me about my Constitution, like Lionel today. You're telling me you're going to tell me about the Constitution. You rolled over, and another expat that went to Barbados is going to tell me about our Constitution. Maybe spend some more time studying it. And if you want to see rolling over, the UK is probably going to be the first one to fall. And probably one of the cities will Sharia law very quick, Jeff, because
it's very close.
You went from the left Tories to the extreme left Labor, which is going to destroy. And they've already said, we're bringing in more people. We're bringing in more replacements for you people, and you're done. And they
don't realize it yet.
But when they realize it's the frog in the blender, right? It's the frog in the pot of hot water. By the time, it's getting a little warm in here, it's too late. So they're surprised that they didn't talk about gun control. And then we'll get into the Second Amendment. So for people that don't live here, we'll try to break it down, Jeff. And here we go.
They're talking about how they want to have unity, and everyone is deeply concerned.
I deeply dislike this woman. She is a demon.
She's crazy. She is.
She's a crazy person.
Horrible.
She comes off as an old grandmother, and she's a threat. And John Deaton is going to take her out. And it might even be more glorious than Trump getting back in office. I cannot wait.
One of the biggest takedowns.
About the attack on the president. This is the moment when let's show what unity really means. And that is Republicans and Democrats, I'll issue the open invitation, come together and let's ban assault weapons in this country.
Nope.
Well, here's
that's a fake. It's a fake narrative right from the beginning.
Get into it, yeah, because you're going to say the same thing I was going to talk about assault weapons.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
That's exactly it. Well, first of all, there's no such thing as an assault weapon. anything is an assault weapon, right? I mean, any firearm is an assault weapon in theory. You know, a knife can be an assault weapon because you're assaulting somebody, but they create this fictitious narrative. And you know, if you look at the weapons that they are afraid of, that they want to ban, they're less powerful than many other weapons that are out there that they won't. But the reason why they want to do it is because they say they look militaristic.
Yeah.
They look, that's their whole emotional, irrational mind state, is that they look at it and like, oh, it looks like a military weapon, therefore we need to ban it. Not because of the power behind it, not because of the, you know, it makes no sense, but
You
they're
know why,
afraid
Jeff?
of it, and they want to, and they're also easier to use. But yeah, it's
That's
a
why.
mental disorder, right? They're easy to manipulate the mindset. You know, it's just amazing. So they use these slanted terminologies because their people, you know, gravitate to the slant of terminology. You know, and they corrupt it. And look how she brings in, you know, the unity and the concern. But this is the moment, because of any time in history, you should have done something not focused on the inefficiencies, the deficiencies of the Secret Service at the time, or the local police, or they should have had somebody on that rooftop, and they should have defended the area better. You know, not focused on any of that, or the, you know, whether the, you know, whatever's the issue is with this guy, or there were 2 shooters or 3 shooters, or what was behind it, why was he there. You know, there's a lot of you know, unanswered questions. But regardless, you know, you know, there's just, they're taking this, and they every time, every moment, they want to twist it, and they want to subjugate our constitutional rights. They're
Jeff,
looking for every moment, every, you know, every opportunity.
you look back at Reagan. Reagan won re-election, right? What did he run on? He ran on a successful record. And when he was going against Jimmy, you know, Carter, you know, his
Right.
whole thing of like, hey, how were the last 4 years for you? They were horrible. It's a pretty simple thing. So if you're running on a record that's so successful, then why are you talking about this 2025 stuff when it's not, when everybody knows it's disingenuous? They know it. We all know it, right? They keep talking about the record for democracy. I'm like, did you people forget that Trump did leave office and he was the president for 4 years? This is where it's disingenuous. Right. So this was what I, you know, had answered the Warren when this whole video here, and I said, this lunatic grifter unable to comprehend the Second Amendment, and here it is for people that don't understand: a well-regulated militia. Militia doesn't mean militarist; it means the people, and it had a different, you know, the founders back when they wrote this, it was a broad spectrum. It wasn't a military. There wasn't a military. It talked about arming the people, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, meaning a free people, the right of the people to keep and bear arms. And there it is right there, the money shot, shall not be infringed. There is
Correct.
no fake assault weapon ban. They've also mislabeled the AR, right? They made up a new name for that when it's when it's the name of a company, right? So they what they do is, this is what the left does. They want to erase the past. Look at 1984. They want to take down all the heroes. They want to take down the statues. They want to rewrite the textbooks because they control the education. And this is what they do. When I read 1984, I thought, this is preposterous. This could never happen. And we're watching it unfold as fascists want to take control. And you got and who hates them outside of Trump? Well, when the Republican Party dislikes the guy and they don't like him, when the Democrat Party doesn't like him, when the Libertarians don't like him, he's a threat to everybody. So the threat he's not is to we the people. And he has the right language. And this is something that Obama did very successfully. Obama talked about hope and change. He gave people a reason to believe. Trump does the same thing. He goes, we're taking it back. He goes, you know, the reason they're coming after me is because they're coming after you. I'm just in the way, right? He talks in terms of not me, I. He talks in terms of we, the people, and this is what we need to do, and we're going to bring back. And this is the same sort of, and this is how you know he's going to win. It's how we knew he won last time. So it's a big thing about that. And again, I said, additionally, assault weapon is a term the left uses to refer to semi-automatic firearms. This is all it is. There's no such thing as an assault weapon. And it's incredible.
And all of our weapons, for the most part, I'd say all, but many, whether it's a handgun or a rifle, are semi-automatic.
Okay, so here's another one. So this
they want
is
to come after everything.
This is Julian Williams, another Brit who's always in my posts. The amendment was written at a time of the opening up of the Wild West. Modern guns are completely different league, and they're frequently used by mentally unstable people to shoot up malls and schools. And by the way, Jeff, we had automatic weapons in the late 1700s. There are on record 1780s, 1790s, we had automatics. So these people don't even do some history. They can't even read a book. Their whole country's going to shit over the UK, and they're going to tell us how to run our stuff. Of course, that's how most Americans want to run their country, who are outsiders to complain. It's a domestic matter. But if the electorate want to have more gun controls, they should be able to pass laws. This is a guy that doesn't understand what I just wrote here. The Second Amendment shall not be infringed. That's exactly right. There are no controls. Your controls are good luck with your knives when your heads are being chopped off. I hope it's gonna be good for you. I hope your knives are gonna take you there. Jeff, remember that stat you posted a couple weeks ago, where one of the Brits was starting to talk about the gun violence? What did you post?
No, I mean, if we look at the overall, sheer volume of violence in the UK, it was pretty extreme. And you look at their overall population, but there's quite a bit of knife violence in that country. Can you be killed by a knife? Yes. You can actually cause a lot of damage with a knife, and especially now, this has nothing to do with anything other than the sanctity of what this country was built on, and why this country is so different is because it's a constitutional republic built on a constitution that is for the people and by the people. And that's the major difference. And they don't understand it. I get they don't understand it. They live in a monarchy, in a parliamentary system where they still cherish their monarchs, the monarchs that have used and abused the people for years and live off their wealth is gotten by the people. They live in an irrational state of mind. It doesn't make any sense. They live in a parliamentary system. They don't understand our system of government. They don't understand our Constitution. They don't understand that we have 2 critical amendments in our Constitution, 1 and 2. And if you change 2, you're definitely changing 1. Freedom of speech and the right to bear arms. Those are the 2 amendments. The founders understood, immediately that those, were needed. And so, you have the First Amendment and the Second Amendment. There's a lot of things, as baked in to the Constitution as you read through it, that tells the government what they can't do, and it's all in support of the people. And you can't infringe on our right to bear arms. All the things that he brought up there. If you have a mentally unstable person, deal with a mentally unstable person. And in many scenarios, they already knew that they were mentally unstable, yet it goes ignored. And that's it. I mean, we have to understand that we live with guns all around us, and overseas they think the level of violence from shootings in schools and such are at an extreme level. And granted, when it happens, it's very hyper focused, right? And it's unfortunate. It's a horrible scenario where 20 people get shot. But how many people are killed every single day in some of these cities like Chicago, and nobody cares about it? How many people are being stabbed over in the UK and killed by a knife that nobody cares about? Or the violence that goes on over there that goes relatively underreported, because they don't care about it. Look at what's happened in Leeds, the other day as they're burning things to the ground. Do they not realize what's going on in other parts of the world, right under their noses, as the Islamists are coming in and taking them over, and yet they want to point fingers at us. Hey, you know what? We're over here. This is our country. It's our constitutional republic. And again, they just don't understand it. I do want to point out that Alchemist actually moved over to Thailand.
Yeah, I saw that.
You saw that? That's pretty.
So
that's
there
a
are
big
20
move.
lovely ladies waiting for you. Listen closely. They're calling your name.
Yeah.
So Steve Walker said, Chip, as a Brit, calm down, buddy. And listen, you're not the guy I'm talking to. You're the guy that's a patriot. You're the guy that's awake. You're the guy, and the rest of your countrymen are awake. You're not the target of this, and you know better. I'm just talking about the people like Lionel. Like, this is just, let me read this, Jeff, and tell me if this makes any sense. Bear arms, got it. not have weapons. It says bear arms. How can anybody see this but me? It's quite clear there's no mention of weapons. And meanwhile, I had to like show him the dictionary. I posted the dictionary version of what arms means. Arms is weapons. I mean, look at this. Let me see this. Watch this, Jeff. Here we go. Bear arms. Let's see what we get here. Let's do this live. Bear arms. There you go. No. The right to bear arms, the United States. First Wikipedia entry. Before I got a generative answer that said it was the right to, have weapons. That's it. You can see it all over the place. Bear arms. There it is. It's like, okay, so there you have it, my friend. There you have it. It's incredible.
Robert Dish is saying we have a requirement to get educated on how to use one and need to have range and license. So the license part, I don't know about, but I do believe that if you are to buy a firearm, you should definitely be educated on how to use one, and you should understand every part of it. You shouldn't, you treat it right, treat it with respect, like anything else, and it's not the inanimate object that causes the problems. It's the individual behind the inanimate object that causes the problems. So
Justin can't wait to take his profits and move to Thailand. Good for you, Justin. Arms is just for armaments. Yeah, guns are part of your culture, full of YETIS that have been brought up by their mothers. There's another Brit. There you go. Guns are part of our culture, but again, you understand what the Second Amendment is for. Thanks to you guys, thanks to the king and the monarchy, the reason we have the Second Amendment is not to protect from each other, it's to protect from tyranny. And when Japan thought about hitting mainland back in World War II, they rethought that because they said, oh shit, they all have guns. And Jeff, we're, in South Florida, I know plenty of people that have arsenals, especially where you live, where they have sheds full of basically, ammunition. And so this is where if they come through the South here, well, they'll see a lot of empty beer cans. They'll see a lot of rednecks, blowing the tip of their guns. They'll have, they're not coming through here. Now, the first place they'll invade is through California because they'll roll over fast and you can say hello. That would be like, the Brits, like, wait, let's talk peaceful. Meanwhile, you had Churchill, who was the only one that stood up and everyone was abusing the man. Oh, don't tone down your language. Don't be so harsh. Oh, please. It's like, so you got the soy boy stuff and you got guys like Lionel. And again, this is a guy who loved the UK so much he moved to Spain, right? An expat. Another guy, Matt Hamilton, who's constantly criticizing me. Another guy who moved to Barbados. You loved your country so much that you got the hell out of Dodge. I get it. And again, it's not targeted towards you. I just say, like, if you don't stand up, and I look at Miss British. She's a phenomenal leading voice for the UK. She stands up for what she believes in. She's a big supporter of freedom, and that's what blockchain really is. This is the greatest threat it's ever been. Is that the decentralized nature of blockchain is the biggest threats to any government. And when I cannot wait until the Fed gets audited and the Fed goes away, because that's the cartel. That cartel right there, that debt instrument that holds everyone as slaves. I don't care what city, what country you live in. We're all slaves to our central bank that owns us, you got to pay debt in nonstop debt. A third party. You don't have a sovereign currency. You don't even have your own currency. In U.S., Congress is the one that mandates that. It's time for Congress to step in and say, you're done. A new system. Let's have a sovereign currency that's not built on debt, and let's audit the Fed and find out where the money really is and what you really been spending on and where. And I doubt we probably can make that debt go away real fast, Jeff. Just my thought.
Yeah, it's funny. I was looking at some of the other comments. Steve Walker said, "We gave you tea and you threw it in the harbor."
And you know what? The funny thing about that was. The funny thing about the tea was that was 3% tax, and we were like, we're ready to go to battle, like get the muskets out, pack the muskets, Jeff. 3% taxation without representation. You're going to tax us, but we didn't have a voice, right? We didn't have a voice to say how it goes, and that was kind of what pissed them off. It wasn't really necessarily the percentage, but again, it's like having no representation. And that's the democracy. The dictator dictates, and then the serfs do the bidding. And it's always funny. You always have even on things like Game of Thrones and in these type of like imaginary scenarios, they're like, what do? We're out of gold. We'll just tax them more. We've taxed them for everything they got. Well, we'll start taking their food, right? It's like there's no end to the people who are on the high towers telling everybody else how to live while they get in their private jets and they fly off to Davos and have these fun little meetings and pretend that they're somebody special. But
that's what it
anyway.
is. Pretending they're someone special.
I'm going. Sorry, Kane. I'm going a little bit crazy. I'm going a little bit nuts today. Usually it's Jeff, but maybe because I'm in the home studio here. Yeah. Jeff's on the road. He's trying to keep it cool. He's got a room full of people walking in and out, and you don't want to go too crazy over there, right, Jeff?
That's right. Yeah.
You know, I'm
looking around.
You gotta. He's like, keep pointing at everybody who's watching me. What's going on? Jeff's like,
so that's why I conveniently position myself in the corner.
Yeah, so I had to pick up the had to pick it up. Got to go, guys. Yeah, family funeral. Sorry about that, man. Sorry to hear about that, Jim D. Sorry about your loss, my man. Same here, back in Texas, when crypto moons, I'm seriously buying a tank. Yeah, and you know what? The funny thing about it, you can do that. Whatever it takes to protect yourself and your home, your homestead, whatever. I just know that on the street where I live, I got a neighbor that says, "Look, if they break the plane and peripheral over here, I got you right down here, and here's what I got you with." And my neighbors are armed to the hilt. We're all ready. That's the funny thing about the South is they always go like, "Geez." If you go to the deep South, like South Carolina or, Virginia or, like Georgia, what's the one thing they always say? Oh, they're so polite. Well, hell, they're polite. Everybody's caring, Jeff. They're going to keep themselves each other honest, right? It's like, how are you today? Oh, sweet. I'm great. How are you? Well, bless your heart, which means F you, but it's a nice way to say it. They're at least polite about it.
I like Scotty. The Brits are definitely still upset about 1776. Look at what.
Well, that was a bloody conflict. And, you look at all the signers of the Declaration of Independence, most of them lost their families, their farms, their fortunes, everything, because they stood up for freedom. And with a funny thing, you think we're coming up on our 250th anniversary, Jeff. And you know what's so funny? We're the only constitution written by the people that protects the people. Every one of them is the government can do this, and the government can street out of this, and the government can make all these rules, right? Where our Constitution, and it's the only one still, 250 years later, the only one that still is written by the people and tells the government, it limits the government control, where the other ones all empower the governments to do all this stuff. And if you look at this Biden administration, most of the things that have happened were rolled back by the Supreme Court as being unconstitutional. The latest one was it went to the Supreme Court about the student loan forgiveness, and it was ruled that no, you can't do this, unconstitutional. So what did the lawless, out of control administration do? And what did Warren champion? Well, let's just go ahead and do it anyway. Screw that. Right. They're like, they're canceling the debt. We're the taxpayers. You don't cancel the debt. It's still there. You just the people who signed an agreement for advanced gender studies that spent $70,000, who agreed to pay that $70,000 back, they're just off the hook, right? And what's funny is my wife still has her master's degree, she still has her student loan. There's not much left on it, but it's so like, how are they choosing these people that they're supposedly paying them all off? Here's John Deaton. Let's see John Deaton.
It's John Deaton. I'm here with Eddie Page. Eddie Page, where are we at, Eddie?
We're at the Next Page Cafe in Weymouth.
Next Page Cafe in Weymouth, and you are the owner?
I'm the owner.
How long have you been the owner?
I've been here for 22 years. 22
years. Listen, I've been doing a tour of small business owners and what their concerns are as we move forward in the Commonwealth. What concerns do you have as we look forward to this election coming up?
I would say, it's a lot tougher to run a small business nowadays based on taxes. And it seems like they're not as supportive in small business as they were in the past. And it's a tough business in general, but now when you add all those other obstacles, it makes it a bigger hurdle. It's tough on a day-to-day basis, just trying to make it, with the regular costs. And then with inflation, yes, it does come in. Food costs are tough, and, labor's obviously tough. So, it makes it tough, and you want to keep your prices reasonable, so you try to be fair to everyone. So it makes it a little tighter.
Do you believe that the Commonwealth of Massachusetts business friendly enough, or do you think it's anti-business?
No, they could definitely be more friendly.
There he
That's
is. That's what I
huge.
like about John, getting out and talking to
huge
the
right there.
people
Yep.
and
That's a great
getting.
statement. They
Well,
can
he
be more
said they want to
friendly.
keep. So this is the difference between, you know, when you see about accountability and non-accountability. You see this administration, especially Warren, she comes out and wants to penalize the companies. You're making the packages smaller. You're charging more money. Well, if you understand how business works and you understand supply chains, you understand if you're making peanut butter and your peanuts go up and the travel to get them there and the shipping and all that stuff goes up. Yeah, you're either going to make the package a little bit smaller, but you have to raise the price. So, but what does she do? She wants to penalize the businesses. That's the same thing she does in Massachusetts, where she's pretending like she's the senator of the U.S. of the left party, you know, of the Democrats, and meanwhile she's done nothing. And it wasn't until John Deaton brought up the whole 2 ailing bridges that thing that she all of a sudden automatically put out a post on X that, well, I got money for this bridge. Meanwhile, 2 other ones are ready for collapse. They don't have the money to fix them. And this is what she's been running around blaming, condemning innovation companies and crypto, while John Deaton is going to go to Washington to fight on behalf of the great people of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So it's a good thing, Jeff. It's a very encouraging thing. I thought we would end on maybe a little bit of a lighter note here. So I've got something from our old pal Ronald Reagan, who was kind of a joke teller back in the day. He liked to tell jokes about Democrats. Here's another joke.
Yep.
It's a story about a woman who walked into a bridal shop one day and told the sales clerk that she was looking for a wedding gown for her 4th wedding. Well, the saleswoman asked, just exactly what type of dress are you looking for? A long, flowing white dress with a veil, she responded with assurance. Not totally convinced, but afraid to offend the woman, the sales lady said, you know, dresses of that nature are usually more appropriate for brides who are being married for the first time, for those a bit more innocent, if you know what I mean. Well, the lady retorted and put her hand on her hip. I do know what you mean, and I can assure you I'm as innocent as the rest of them. Despite all my marriages, I remain as innocent as any first-time bride. Well, you see, my first husband was a dear, sweet man. It was a terrible tragedy, actually. All the excitement of the wedding was simply too much for him, and he died as we checked into the hotel on our wedding night. I'm sorry to hear that, said the clerk, but what about the others? Well, my second husband and I got into a terrible fight in the limousine on the way to our wedding reception. We haven't spoken since and got the marriage quickly annulled. What about your third husband? Asked the store clerk. Well, the woman replied, he was a Democrat. And every night for 4 years, he just sat on the edge of the bed and told me how good it was going to be. Sorry, I just couldn't resist telling that.
For 4 years, he sat on the edge of the
Reagan.
bed telling me how good it was going to be. Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Yeah,
Complain.
that's fine.
The one guy nailed it earlier where he talked about it's nothing but complain, Jeff. Nothing but complaints. There's no unity. There's no excitement about the U.S. What's funny is there's starting to be a stigma, like, you know, like I fly my flag out in the front. I don't care. Like my pride flag, my U.S. flag is flying at any time. I don't care. I don't take it down for any reason. Maybe a big storm's coming and I might remove it because I don't want it to get blown away. But now they're accusing, like, not only is that, but it's racist, Jeff, to have a flag flying. It is. It's only something the right. It's white supremacy. I'm like, showing pride in your country. Years ago, we had an exchange student from Switzerland, and she started laughing out loud. And I was like, "What is so funny?" And this is like, she was infected, right, with the virus, the leftist virus, and I think she was only 16 at the time, whatever. And she said, "Oh, well, I just find it funny you have the American flag, like there's one, you know, over there on 95. There's a giant one outside of a car dealership. It's huge." And she saw that and she's like, "That's the biggest flag I've ever seen in my life." And she goes, "Why do you guys fly your flag everywhere?" I go, "It's called patriotism. We're proud of our country." She goes, "I don't understand it. We don't fly our flag. We don't do that." I'm like, "Well, that's very telling, but That was like one of it. She
Distinction.
couldn't understand how you would have pride of country and this whole patriotism. And look, and what I see is, and I was going pretty hard on Great Britain and the English, but the English do have pride. They have pride. They have history, and they do care about the country, and they want to make Great Britain great. They want it to return to the way it was without being called racist, without being called names. Left and right, and they want to get back to the They have a rich history over there, right?
Yeah.
And they want to get back to that. They certainly don't want to be conquered by ideals that don't mesh with Western ideals. They want to be able to provide for their families. They want to be able to go out, and there's a rich history there, and whether you like the monarch or not, look, there's respect for it, and it's something that they treasure, and it's like, that's their culture, and you shouldn't mess with their culture to the point of where I see it being messed with, Jeff. And I don't like that either. Because when I go to I've been to England so many times. I've been to Scotland. I've been to I've driven up and down Wales. I've been to South Northern Ireland as well. I've been all over the UK, and I find it to be great. I love the people that I run into who are patriotic, but you need to speak up, man. You need to take back your country.
Now's
you
the
need
time.
to say, right, Jeff?
Now's the time. They have to, 100%. They got to stand
Same with
up.
Australia.
It's unfortunate. Yeah,
most important.
Australia too. Yeah, the one thing that we noticed, when we were there, Chip, I think, was that it was very similar to the U.S. Other than driving on the other side of the road and people speaking when we couldn't understand what they were saying. But for the most part, it's just like being here, to the same passion, And I think you're 100% spot on. You go to the UK, whether it's Ireland or England or Scotland or Wales, or you go all around, and people are passionate about their country and their history, but there's something that just has not clicked back into place. There's some sort of guilt, emotional guilt in there that's been passed down through the generations now, to say we don't deserve our history and our country, and we have to give it up. And that doesn't make any sense to me. Why should they give up their culture and their history? It's part of who they are, for good and for bad. There's a lot of good, and there's also a lot of bad in what has happened throughout the history. And so, and we're witnessing, similar outcome in other parts of Europe, and like Sweden and elsewhere. But people get to a breaking point where you can't allow, an ideology that wants to subjugate you and destroy you. You can't allow that onto your shores and allow it to proliferate to the point where it takes over your own identity. We go to England because we want English culture. Go to France because we want French culture. We go to Italy because we want Italian culture. I don't go to these countries, to see no-go zones in the Middle East, or I don't want to see it heavily influenced to the point where it changes the dynamics of and subjugates their domestic culture. There's one thing, people that go to these countries from all over the world are attracted there because they're passionate about that culture, not because they want to take it over and change it, because they want to be part of it. That's the passion. But when you allow people onto your shores that don't care about your culture and want to replace your culture with their own culture, then you have a problem. That's called an invasion.
I lost your voice there for a second there.
Yep.
So I'll just say this. So Steve Walker, the Reform Party, got the third highest vote tally, but only got 4 seats. It is a disgrace. And here's the thing. You guys are going through your Biden moment right now. With you guys going, with Labor taking over, and, you can already see some of the initiatives are taken. This is what you have to go through, the pain. And I know you went through 12 years of Tories who are just, they go like, we're the conservatives. I'm like, here we call them Democrats. Okay. It's the left or the extreme left is what you have. There might be some bleed over here and there, but it's very infrequent. But what you're going to get out of it is you're going to get a leader like Nigel Farage, who's going to lead, and then he's going to go ahead and keep talking. He's finally got a seat. So it's going to be a rough ride, but it's going to be a worthy ride. I think along the way, you're going to find people are going to find their heart, and they're going to start rebelling. And it's very telling after 12 years of Tory rule and the disgrace that it's been, that people were so mad and pissed. They said, screw you, we're voting for the extreme left. You know, that's how bad it had to get. But don't worry, it's going to get much worse. But that's the silver lining, because that's when they're going to find the heart. That's when the Brits are going to find their heart. They're going to fight their way out of it. And then you're going to have your Trump moment where you get a guy like Nigel Farage or someone like him that's going to come in and start running the place like a true conservative, not a fake Tory wannabe conservative. Anyway, man, I'm raging today, Jeff. I'm all I'm all like ready to fight, Jeff. I got to fight. It was just like fisticuffs, man. I was
living the dream. We're almost an hour 30 into it. That's what happens when we start late.
We started late. We went a little bit late. I understand that. It's like it happens. Let's see if there was here's something that was making its rounds here. So this is the Trump matrix here that's been making the rounds here.
He is the one.
I want you to pay too close attention to who the last two guys are in this and tell me if you know their names. Look, who is it, Jeff? You got Zuck and Obama.
Oh my goodness.
And they run away. They run away at the end.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Anyway, we're going to leave it there. We are going to leave it there. That was quite the show, guys. Really appreciate you guys. OMG, that's good. I got the chills. We're good. You can watch that on our page when we put it up. That is just disturbing. It really is. Boom. Great show, guys. Fight, fight, fight. Right on.
That's right. That's
Mark
it.
Smithson, living the dream. Everyone got to go tackle some projects. That's it. Yeah, Thai cuisine. I love Thai cuisine, man. And
Thai's the best.
I do Thai all the time. I couldn't imagine how great it is over there. And of course,
God, did you imagine? What do they call it over there?
Great. They call it Thai food. They just call it food. They call it domestic. I don't know what they call it. What do they call it over there? Alchemist. Sure. Yeah, ginger chicken, my favorite. But they put lemongrass and everything. God, it's fantastic.
I love coconut curry.
I love it all, dude.
Coconut curry.
I could eat it every day. That and Japanese every day. I could eat that. So I could live very happily in Thailand or Japan because I could eat. I had fish last night. I eat raw fish all the time. It's like
You know what's great, man? You know what's great about Thai food? So you can eat it cold the next morning.
That's true.
I love it. That's just
it's like cold pizza. It's fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
It is fantastic. All right, guys, that's all we have time for. We will see you on the next one. Chip and Jeff out. Oh, I wanted to say tomorrow night we got Sean McBride coming in here. It's going to be an awesome show, a great interview. So come on in here tomorrow night, guys, 8 p.m. Eastern time. We're gonna have Sean on. It's been trying to get him on for a while. We're super excited about him coming in here. He's
They're
ex-Google, ex-Ripple, and also he's MAGA. So we're going to talk a little bit about everything there, and we'll have a great show. And we look forward to your participation. And one last thing, Jeff. Okay. There we go. And that's all we have, guys. And with that, we are out of here. See you on the next one, guys. Chip and Jeff out. See you, man. Okay.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.